Images of woman made. Where do I go to find images of woman made? Yeah.
It has been such an honor to be able to read with so many wonderful women. So I'm really, really grateful to have met a bunch of people I didn't know. I feel really, really like this has been such a special experience for me. Thank you. We want you, they said, to do a political poem because you are a feminist poet, and I am a feminist poet, I thought, but I don't really do political poems. I thought I do personal poems, so this is a personal poem. Hi, I'm Kathryn Cowles, a feminist poet, as aforementioned, born and raised in a strict conservative religious household till I turned 18 and ran screaming away to college, would have happily burned my bra even, till I found out that's not really a thing. This is a poem, a personal poem about my body, how by the age of 5 I was made to hate it, to be afraid of what it could do without my telling it. I wanted to control it. By 10 I was dieting, was sure I was overweight, bombarded with pictures everywhere, pretty tiny girls. And what with all that locker room talk, boys will be boys stuff one hears in school hallways or now out of the mouths of presidents, who has time to worry about academics with all that pressure? Me and a million other 10-year-old girls, me and 2 million don't have time. This is a poem about how at 17 my best friend was sexually assaulted, backseat of her own car. No, she said, clearly no, again, no, had to sit through church next day while her rapist blessed the sacrament. And we lived in a state where politicians had decided abortions were not allowed for 17-year-old girls whose parents would not sign off. Clearly their bodies were not their own. So we made a plan, if it came to that, started sneaking small bills from our parents' wallets, planned to pack a suitcase of PB&Js, steal my family minivan, and drive to Denver, Colorado, home of a famed Planned Parenthood where, we heard, we wouldn't need a parent's permission for the abortion, sleep in the car, and then take what we both had coming when we got back. This is a personal poem. Us and millions of teenagers over the years, us and millions of other girls. Years later, I had an abortion. Did you hear that? I had an abortion. This is a personal poem. This is not so long ago. Already had a baby a year old and was wrestling with dark postpartum, working full-time and sinking, and that was it for me and the millions of others, me and the 1 in 3 women who will have an abortion by age 45. Look around. Me and 1 in 3 of us here is in my personal poem. And more than half of women who have abortions like me already have kids they want to protect, or who don't have the money or the stability or the desire to be a parent, or who made a mistake or were victims of chance or survivors of sexual assault, because it's my body, it's my body, it's my body, it's my family, it's my life. This is personal stuff. Who made me hate my body at age 10? Who made it impossible to get an abortion in my state at 17? Who made it so my crap health insurance in college didn't have to pay for birth control pills or pap smears, or could routinely charge women up to 50% more pre-Obamacare, perfectly legal discrimination? Who made it so when I went on the crashing job market in 2008, just my luck, half of the very few jobs in the country for feminist poets like me were canceled and never did come back, even when the economy turned. Hiring freezes all around, even though I thought my job, my life has nothing, I thought, to do with Washington or Wall Street. I was wrong. Who makes these things happen, these personal things? And why do we keep putting these people in charge? All my life, all these things I thought were circumstantial bad luck, all the little inequities, the structural humiliations, the struggles to make ends meet, all these things I thought were personal. Well, they are personal. This is a personal poem. But we all know the personal is political. I have 3 young daughters, little army of feminists. This is their life. This is safe water. This is affordable birth control. This is affordable college. This is Black Lives Matter. This is yes to every letter of LGBTQ+. This is women in government. This is people of color in government. This is women of color in government, nationally and locally, like, for instance, in Auburn, New York. This is femination. This is Me Too. This is enough is enough. This is the job market. This is a living wage. This is Standing Rock. This is stopping war. This is the lives of immigrants, of refugees. This is the lives of undocumented workers, of children, of all children, those war-torn or those imprisoned at the border or those sold into sex trafficking or those on lockdown in our own schools. This is their lives. This is diverse abilities. This is healthcare. This is fighting the terrible spew of white nationalists. This is wildfires and hurricanes. This is climate change. This is fracking. This is the levees breaking. Everyone's in their own personal poem, and our poems can feel so separate, and they're not. We're all in this boat. And the people who control the circumstances of our lives, they're far away. It's time to yell far so they can hear. It's time to pull the fisticuffs out, friends. It's time to say, this is my body, this is my poem, this is my life, this is my family, this is my whole world. It's time to be brave, to be restless and wild and strong in resistance, because the personal is political, and this is a personal poem. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Beth Beer Cuddy. Men have been telling women to shut up ever since Telemachus told his mom Penelope to cram it in Homer's Odyssey. Women are just too shrill. They sound too much like your mother haranguing you to take out the garbage, or your landlady yelling up the stairs to turn down your rock music. Their high-pitched voices worm into the ear, sounding needy and desperate as they ask if they look too fat in this patriarchy. It's so much better for women to be quiet, like the newly legged Ariel, who wins over Prince Eric by shutting the hell up. She's not the only Disney heroine who snags true love by being mute. Briar Rose was unconscious. Snow White, dead. When society started to become more modernized, men began setting up a new role for women within it. Essentially the home, where the woman was preferably pregnant, knitting a scarf that could easily be substituted as a ball gag in any given moment. Those upper-class women who felt confined and constrained by their man-granted duties were prescribed the rest cure for their hysteria. It entailed being confined even more so, this time to the bed, completely isolated with nothing to read or Netflix. Only the quarts of milk she was required to drink. The milk was to fatten them up, much in the way the witch did to Hansel in his cage. You'll remember that Gretel, the one who takes agency and shoves the witch into the oven, doesn't get a prince at the end. Oh, and the witch was also a bitch. But the suffragists weren't quiet. They had the audacity to use their voices rather than smile politely at light sexual harassment or fall in love with a man-child in a Judd Apatow film. Not only were their voices on the screechy side, but these men and some women who benefited from the current system didn't like the content of what they were saying. They wanted the vote, and they wanted it now. But a vote for federal suffrage was a vote for organized female nagging forever. I can't take credit for that. A Tennessee pamphlet shrilled it. Oh, I should say asserted it, because it was written by men, and men's writing sounds confident and looks great in a tank top. Quote, American pep, which was the result of a masculine-dominated country, will soon be a thing of the past. They're talking about erections, right? It goes on to say that women's suffrage equals male sissies. The emasculation of men was a huge issue for these anti-suffragists. MIT professor and biologist William T. Sedgwick basically published his primal scream in the New York Times in 1914, hyperventilating that these women weren't even real women, they were half women. He shrieked, spraying spit all over the broadsheet. The other half was bitch. I'm paraphrasing. These half women would rule over the real women who enjoy scalding their hands, doing laundry for 5 days, and being incessantly pregnant. He cried and wrung his fist that it would be total destruction of wifehood and the home and all the tender relations and associations that the home involves. Loosely translated, women withstanding constant intercourse, leading to their constant pregnancies until they die in childbirth or their uteruses resemble cheesecloths. He then pointed out that giving women an equal say gave men the right to beat the shit out of them. A real prince, that one. I wonder which Disney princess will get him. In 1915, these nagging half-women took their case to Congress, demanding the right to have a say in their government. Representative Stanley Bottle of Ohio, using his low-octave pleasing voice, objected on the grounds that their feet were far too tasty for that. If there is one thing that has been a constant in human history, it is man's enormous capacity for creepiness. Oh, and their amazing voices. Quote, "The women of the smart capital are beautiful. Their beauty is disturbing to business," Bottle said very normally. "Their feet are beautiful. Their ankles are beautiful. But here I must pause, for they are not interested in the state." Now, if you'll excuse me, I need to go masturbate in the Congress cloakroom. The only people interested in the state are those who can look at feet and ankles, make the correct judgment, and share that judgment publicly, i.e. men and foot fetishists who are also men. The anti-suffragists had the science behind it, the science that they wrote and had published by the publishing houses they owned. Almroth Wright, an immunologist and typhoid vaccine discoverer, was particularly concerned with women's menstruation in the sense that the shedding of the uterine lining caused all brain function to cease. He wrote a whole book on it. It's not very easy to read. Of course, I have a woman brain and I was menstruating. I asked my husband to read it to me, and he told me to cover my bare ankles because the beauty was disturbing to him. But yet, the suffragists carried on talking, marching, and menstruating at the same time. President Woodrow Wilson would avert his eyes from the women holding signs and showing their beautiful ankles while parading on the sidewalk in front of the White House in the way a baby thinks his mother has vanished from the earth when she leaves the room. If I can't see it, it therefore doesn't exist. He thought rounding them up like cattle, throwing them in the slammer would end the fight, but it didn't. Even though William Sedgwick said equality equals a fist in the face, the public did not warm to the stories of suffragists being beaten, thrown downstairs, publicly stripped, and eventually Congress and the state legislatures passed the 19th Amendment. Even then, the oppression of women's voices surfaces again, much in the same way a Rudy Giuliani slithers and slimes his way onto a Fox News program to admit to all the crimes. You see it in the fight to strip away access to medical care. Yes, I'm talking about abortion, which, when you cut through all the bullshit, is really about punishing women for having sex and not about preserving life, unless you agree denying food stamps to millions of families with born children, a life-saving measure. Unless women continue to exercise their screechy, intolerable voices, we risk the same fate of a Cinderella, toiling for pittance, sleeping in ashes in a land where women cut off pieces of their beautiful feet to try to snag a prince who is more like a Prince Andrew.